So first thing I want to do this morning, welcome you all here. If you haven't done so already, go to forthesoil.org, take the pledge that you are for the soil. And we've emphasized this before. It's kind of a neat publicity campaign initiated by partners, but in fact highlighting and emphasizing principles that we've been promoting with Virginia NRCS for a long time. So please remember to do that. Hopefully every single person here has taken that pledge. We appreciate it. Just introduce some of the folks here. We don't know if there's some new people, and many of you have joined us in the past, and we'll talk a little bit about what we did in 2021. But at this point, this is almost a joint Virginia Tech USDA NRCS project, right? Because Lydia Fitzgerald has transitioned to a new role, relatively new, since September, as a partnership conservation agronomist employed by Virginia Tech, embedded with NRCS, and it's been incredibly helpful with this SHAW project as well as others. So here are your organizers, and if you have any input about our SHAW meetings and potentially future topics, please reach out to us. So what we're going to talk about today, I am categorizing as the most significant soil health assessment ever undertaken by Virginia NRCS, which may not be saying that much because we've actually consciously stayed away from soil health assessment over the past 8 to 10 years. As we've started using the term soil health, we've been cautious about jumping into it. But it is the most significant, and we think there's some important lessons to be learned. And so this is our topic for today. Can we change valley pasture soils with management? And it's part one of a 3-part series. Lessons learned from DSP project planning and design. So that's a mouthful. But here are today's presenters. I'm Chris Lawrence, of course. Lydia is going to present a lot of material, and I would say she's responsible for the majority of the slides that you're going to see. And Alexandra will also have some comments, and we're going to work together on this. We've been working together on this, and I just cannot thank these two colleagues enough. It's been a great experience working on this with them. So here's our plan of action. I'm getting into the welcome and the introduction to Soil Health Assessment Workgroup. What is that about? Then I'm going to introduce the Valley Pasture DSP project webinar series. Like, why are we doing 3 webinars on this topic? So I'm going to introduce that, and then I'm going to hand the baton over to Lydia. She's going to talk about give just an intro to NRCS DSP relatively briefly. Something you may have heard before, but there's certainly not something that flows off the tongue. What is a DSP project? Then Alexander's going to talk about the Valley DSP project, sort of set the scene, what that's about. And then we're going to dive into what's probably the most important part of this presentation and discussion, is what are the key 6 lessons learned about DSP project design that we feel like we can highlight based on our experience, and then some time hopefully for discussion at the end. So that's the plan of action. So let's talk a little introduction to the Soil Health Assessment Workgroup. And again, many of you have been here before, but just to set the stage here for 2022, it's informal membership. So some of you may have joined us just by virtue of receiving an invite. Welcome. A subset of Virginia NRCS staff. That's part of our work group, but also we've really been honored to have selected external partners. I can see names from other states joining us and from around Virginia. So thanks for being here. We've been hosting these recurring web-based meetings, kind of learning as we go, on the 2nd and 4th Fridays of most months. We started in February 2021. And so we've done 17 webinars so far. So let's look back at some of the topics and where we've been. So this is a list that you can see here of 17 different presentations and discussions that we had in 2021. And I thought I would color code them a little bit. Those that are in white, the speakers are Virginia NRCS. So myself, Charlie Ivins, Lydia, Alexander was in here, Carl Peacock, right? So those are the ones in white. Well, what would the other colors signify? We really have a big emphasis on partnering with our land grant. So I would say the orange are presentations or discussions that featured our land grant specialists, and we hope to invite others, but Dr. Bagley, Ryan Stewart's been a major partner, Mark Ryder, etc. So we've had the land grant featured. In green here, we have another state NRCS group, had an important presentation from some key partners in Indiana. In yellow, industry, Earth Optics talking about their compaction sensing technology. And then in blue, some folks from to the north of us working with the Million Acre Challenge in PASA and their soil health benchmark study. So we learned so much from you, and thank you for that. So, that's a lot. Wow, there's a lot that was covered. Well, if you were interested in sort of getting a taste of what that was about, we tried to summarize the first 13 meetings with a webinar, and we recorded that webinar. And so one of the things we're offering you, and Lydia will post the link in the chat right now to this YouTube playlist, but you can watch that September presentation or webinar on YouTube. I've edited it into different parts to make it a little easier to navigate and watch. You can watch it, and it's a way to get up to speed on Soil Health Assessment Workgroup, what we've been doing, and some of what I call the Virginia NRCS approach to soil health assessment. And because that YouTube experience is out there, I'm not going to give you as much background this morning as I would have perhaps last year. This recording is an excellent overall summary of Virginia NRCS soil health strategies and activities. And if you're interested in the SHAW group, and also getting a sense of the exceptional level of soil health partnership that we've built over many years, and we will illustrate today when it comes to the Valley DSP project. If you're interested in any of that, go to the link was shared in the email announcements and the invites to join this meeting today, and that's going to be in the chat if you want to learn more. It is this YouTube playlist is what we call unlisted, right? So you got to have the link to find it. You can't just search for it. So that's a looking back. But what are our goals? I'll just briefly emphasize our goals for this whole soil health assessment work group effort. This diagram, I think, illustrates pretty well. There's a lot of activity going on in the soil health assessment space, but we're not always very well coordinated. And our hope is by sharing and communicating, we can get better alignment, and ultimately we can get synergistic partnerships. And then to some degree, I think the Valley DSP project already showed some of that. How do we get to synergistic partnership? Well, the first thing, we want to share 8 soil health assessment concepts from our Virginia NRCS strategic plans, core ideas. And that's a goal for these meetings. We want to get internal, external feedback on those core concepts. And by the way, we found over the course of last year that we both implicitly and explicitly got a lot of reinforcement that these concepts were really good ideas. We want to better understand our staff's needs and our clients' soil health assessment needs. And when I say SHA, right, on the screen, that's soil health assessment. And we want to learn from what our partners are doing and thinking about when it comes to soil health assessment. So moving towards coordination and actually in collaboration. So what are these guiding concepts? Again, if you go back to the YouTube video, you can see me unpack all these. I'm not going to go into detail on all of them, but a couple that I'll highlight. We emphasize the idea, for instance, under 6, avoid measurement without meaning. And I'm emphasizing that because, preview here, spoiler alert, we are going to show you that because of some mistakes in the DSP project design, and I think they're mistakes that I'm responsible for primarily, we have some degree of measurement without meaning in our project. Oops. So that'll be interesting to talk about. And another theme, adjust soil health assessment policies and protocols to our needs. The importance of adjusting any soil health assessment project to your project purpose, right? And your resources. And that goes back to 3, asking, why am I doing this testing? Not how should I test, but why am I testing? And I'd say one of our guiding concepts in general on soil health in Virginia, as soil health has become more complex, talking about in-field soil health assessment, laboratory soil health assessment, all that stuff is working its way into our policies now within NRCS, and there's pressure and interest from multiple divisions at the national level, right? Soil Health Division, Soil and Plant Science Division. We keep needing to remind ourselves to keep it sound and simple, right? The KISS principle is what made soil health so attractive to so many of our clients, and that's our ultimate audience of farmers. Okay, so that's a little background, but you will notice me come back to some of these, and probably Lydia for sure, maybe Alexandra too, come back to some of these ideas, especially measurement without meaning, something we should avoid. And that's going to be important for today. So now that was looking back, let's look forward. You should be familiar with this little table because we sent it out to you by email. Just looking ahead, a couple things. We normally have SHAW meetings on the 2nd Fridays of the month, but we're not doing that for January through March of 2022. There's too much going on. But we're going to use our 4th Fridays, and today, of course, is our first of our fourth Fridays, and this is our topic, right? And what we're doing is for this start of the year, we're doing a 3-part webinar series about what we're calling the Valley Pasture DSP project. And so part 1 today is about project planning and design, and lessons learned from that. And we're also going to talk about lessons learned from other aspects of the project, implementation logistics, and finally we'll get to the lab and field assessment results. But we feel it's very important to talk about lessons learned from planning and design because they are going to influence how much meaning we can assign ultimately to the final results. So a couple other things, of course, we're on Zoom, and you know that we've switched to Zoom from MS Teams, and that's our schedule. As far as looking ahead to things beyond March, we're very interested in ideas for other presentations. In fact, there's some people on the line today that I think we're probably going to ask to possibly share some of their knowledge with us. So, but in the chat, if you have ideas, you can put them in now or you can share later. So that's the end of this welcome and intro section. And I'm going to pause before I start with the second section here and ask if there are any questions or comments.